For
What's
sure.
going on, Internet? Welcome back to episode 6 of The Summit, the podcast where we share with you all of the latest and greatest gaming, anime, and pop culture news, saving you all the time of finding it yourself. If you're listening to this, you can find us on all major podcasting platforms. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Don't forget, if you want to reach out to us, you can always find us in our Discord server, which will be linked in the show notes below. Bringing you in for today's episode, I'm your host, your boy Ashley, and with me are my co-hosts who make all this possible. First and foremost, starting with Rain, aka the calm before the storm, CJ. Go ahead and introduce yourself for today's episode.
I appreciate that one. That was a great introduction.
I know,
It's
right?
your boy, Rain, you know what I mean? I'm always, be water, Bruce Lee type shit. But you can find me live almost any day on Twitch, Rain _ aka _ CJ. And I'm probably live right now, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
tune in.
And our next host is starting up his own petition to end skill-based matchmaking in quick play game modes. Razor SJS, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up? I'm glad you brought that up because, honestly, something needs to be done. But, hey, what's going on? I've been spending this past week grinding on these new games, as you're going to find out when we talk about. But yeah, I haven't been streaming much. I've just been trying to get through this, maybe play it on a harder difficulty or the higher after this. But glad to be here. I'm looking forward to these topics, discussions. And yeah, let's get to it.
Let's get
After
to
the
it.
introductions.
And last, but definitely not least, our next host purchased a PC from iBuyPower, but it ain't got no power. Striker, go ahead and speak your piece for today's show.
Hey man, I'm gonna need to find out how much Rain and Razor paying you for these intros, because I'm not getting the same treatment. I'm getting the short end of the things, yo. But yo, it was good, yo. Yeah, no, I'm on PC now, so my stream is down, but you can still find my on Twitch, that the Almighty Striker, and also find me on TikTok by the same tag.
Say less, say less. Hey, go ahead and let them know why you got that intro. I feel like every week you got a special intro because every week is something special with you. Go ahead and educate
it's
people.
crazy. Long story short, cable management is a thing. I'm not too. I don't care much about it. I feel like if it works and it's running, nobody else is looking at it but you. So if it doesn't bother you, you ought to. But turns out it does matter, I guess, at the end of the day, because I just try to disconnect and fix my camera, and it short circuited my power supply on my PC. And fireworks happened, and things got turned off, and certain things don't turn back on.
Shit. Yeah. Hey, don't buy pre-builts, y'all. Hey, build your own shit.
Damn.
Hey, that's just my little opinion. Y'all shit ever blew up?
Yeah.
Oh, before we get into the show, we want to announce that we are doing a giveaway for Dragon's Dogma 2. We'll be announcing a winner on episode 7, which should air April 9th. So by the time you listen to this, there's going to be a week to enter. All you got to do is join our Discord, find the giveaways chat, and type Dogma 2. By the time this is out, you should be seeing videos post up on our social media. Nothing new as far as that goes, so I wish everybody good luck. It'll be totally random, and like I said, the winner will be announced at the beginning of the podcast on episode 7. We had a pretty good week when it came to gaming this week. We've gotten more progress into Rise of the Ronin. We have a lot more discrepancies to talk about with that game. Some of us have dabbled into Dragon's Dogma a little bit as well. Stellar Blade demo has released for the weekend. By the time you're listening to this, it'll be no longer available, but that's exclusive on PlayStation 5. I know Razer beat the demo. I think, what was it, only like an hour or some shit?
Yeah, about.
Yeah. I think.
Upset when you said that.
Yeah, well, it's a little
what?
short. Short little
So you
demo.
sounded upset when you said that.
Oh, no, not really.
How was your experience with it?
So I liked it. It's definitely like a mix of like what we've been getting so far with stuff like Rise of the Ronin, where it's like speed, action heavy, parry, dodge, all that.
Yeah.
But it does have that a souls element to it as well. Like you have these campfires, these little rest spots throughout the map, and resting at them restores your health, but respawns enemies, and also your health things are consumables that refill at these spots. So it's a mix of those two. And in my experience, the highlight will definitely be like the enemies and the bosses. The
Mm.
enemies are very unique in how they play, how they look, and they're pretty freaky looking, to be honest. And then the bosses, same thing for them, and they play differently and unique. So think basically for you guys, for you and Striker, the gameplay of Rise of Ronin, just like in like an alien sci-fi-ish type of setting. Basically,
Okay.
you got your skill trees, you upgrade, you have different combo routes, and those are literal skills. You upgrade your perfect dodges, your parries, your counterattacks, and stuff like that. And at the end of the demo, you actually get a chance to play a stronger version of the character against a different boss. They let you just trial and error it out as you want to.
Mm.
And so it played really fun to me, and I think it's something that I was kind of under the radar for me. It
Yeah.
wasn't really on my list or anything, but after playing that, I think it has really good potential.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get it after we end today's show. I'm gonna probably try and knock that hour out because I know it's leaving tonight, so I'm gonna have to get that hour in of it. Is it looking like a day one pickup for you, or at
Well,
least
I don't
a
know what the
cop?
date is. It's
Uh,
definitely a cop. Yeah,
it's
I, don't-
looking like
I,
March 20. Oh shit. No, March 29th is the demo. I don't think they have an actual release yet. Too. Actually, let me look that up because that's actually
Yeah, didn't
March
know much
29th was
about
the
the release
demo.
demo.
April. I can't find an April 26th is what I'm seeing.
Let me see if it says
Yeah,
anything
see if it says anything
on
on
this.
PlayStation.
Or
It says April 26th. Celebrate is slated to release on April 26, 2024, exclusive for PlayStation 5. Okay.
it's exclusive. Yeah, April 26th.
Okay, so damn. Okay, so that'll probably be the game I pick up later
Yeah,
this
that's
month then.
next month. So.
Yeah, shit. Okay, that's coming up soon then. So it's an action RPG. Um, how are the graphics on it? How are we looking for that?
It looks really good.
Really good. Cool.
Yeah.
Bet. Well, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna be an April 26th release for Stellar Blade. That is something that did sneak up on me as well because I think my focus was on the Silent Hill 2 remake. We'll touch into that a little bit later as well. But the Stellar Blade kind of snuck up on me, and then when I found out it had a demo, I was like, oh shit, because games really don't have demos like that these
Not
days.
anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. And I think that's something.
Missed opportunities.
Yeah, it is because it gives you some time to actually like dabble in the game and see if you want to pick it up versus making that investment on a game. And it's like, if you don't like it, you're not getting your money back. So it's like, I mean, what do y'all think about that? Y'all think
I
every
think
game
it
should have
is-
a demo?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it should definitely be a standard because, like I
Double
said,
A titles?
especially with these full prices going up and everything.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, games are an investment nowadays. If you don't like it, you wasted $70 potentially. I think demos are a great way to like alleviate like that because it's like, oh, dude, you could have played a demo. That's your fault.
Yeah.
And also for people who are on the fence or don't really know about it, demos can get them into it. It's like if this demo didn't exist, I might not have bothered to even look
Exactly.
this up or know it existed.
Exactly.
Well, I knew about it, but I wouldn't have bothered, probably if I didn't know the gameplay was this nice. But now this demo's convinced me.
Yeah, because sometimes I don't like going off games unless I know about that genre or like I do a lot of research on my own. I don't really like paying for games that I'm like on the fence about. So I feel like if I actually get my hands on it, and it's more of an incentive to actually pick up the game. And so I'm glad we getting it. But that used to be very common, like not even like 10 years ago, like where every game had its own demo. I don't know what shifted in that and why games stopped doing that. You think more if like why do you think they stopped pushing out demos exactly in these games? Think just a money thing, like hey.
Well, to be fair, we have shifted to live
Live
service,
service, yeah.
and you can't really live. Well, you can have live service demos, but then they're not
Well,
demos; they're betas and alphas.
betas.
So
Yeah.
there are those, but with those, what I noticed is like you kind of have to be within the community. Like there will be a ton of alphas, especially, but betas too, that I just completely missed out on because I just didn't know it was a thing, or there was a sign up period at this certain time that didn't really get promoted, and so sometimes you miss out on a lot of those because like games like the ones we were talking about earlier, the predecessor,
Predecessor,
like
yeah.
that stuff's been in beta for like years, but only a
Yeah.
few people knew about it. So I think that kind of stuff flies under the radar, and also with some live service games, demos or betas just aren't enough of a. The companies probably don't even think it's worth it money wise for those live service games, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think we had a topic about that actually, and I kind of want to touch into that because we were picking up a discussion on live service games and if they're dying, and I kind of wanted to spark up a conversation about that because it made me think a little bit too. Like, do we even really have any live service games that are very successful if it's not from a AAA company? Like, can y'all think of one?
Um,
No,
Yeah,
not
because
necessarily.
I can't think of one either. Because what we got? We got what? Destiny. We got Call of Duty. We got Fortnite. All the battle royales is popular. Apex still. Fortnite. Um, whatever else is out there. PUBG, I guess. But it's really not that successful of a genre when you really think about it. But a lot of games are trying to push it. So it's like, are they dying? Are people getting tired of them? Like, how do y'all feel about live service games? Y'all think we should just get rid of this shit? Because I'm for getting rid of this shit. I'm not gonna lie to you. Well, not getting rid of it totally, but I'm more so. I think we should focus on other things besides everybody trying to push out their own live service game.
Oh, I feel like if it's done right,
Yeah.
it does give a long term of content to gamers.
Mhm.
Whereas these like story games or like these titles pushing that $70 purchase price
Yeah.
and gating additional content or content that probably should have been in the game in the first place, but they're now pushing it as a downloadable content for X amount of dollars, whatever that price point they want to set it at. Like it hurts. Well, not that it hurts, but like, oh no, yeah, it does. It damn near does hurt my wallet. Having to pay extra for something that could have been in the game in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, one one example from this weekend, obviously Suicide Squad season 1 released. Huge disappointment for me. Not gonna lie, what they made us like as soon as you boot in the game, I thought that we would get access to the Joker, which you can if you buy them, if you choose to pay the $10 to buy them, which is a scam in its own. And then Rain, you
Pay
said
the
you
ten
had,
dollars.
yeah, well, Rain has the collector's edition, and you would think that, with the collector's edition, you would at least get that included, but you don't. So you got to pay another 10 on top of that. And then in order to acquire him, you got to finish out the whole battle pass? Is he at the
beat
end?
Brainiac,
You got to beat Brainiac. That's it. Which
hmm
is
which is the boss of the season. You have to complete the season essentially.
that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time putting into the same repetitive missions, and that's just it makes you want to buy it. But then you're like, well, I already paid 70 for this shit. Do I want to buy this shit? It's like, no, I don't. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't. I have really, really, really low expectations that this game is going to last the rest of the year. Their player count is very low. I do not see them keeping their servers up for long, and it's really gonna be a bummer because all of us paid full price for it. So it's like shit, not getting your money back
Mm-hmm.
at all. You're gonna release like a damn apology or some shit. Like, we're sorry. We finessed y'all. We gave y'all a half-ass game, but maybe next time, right? But
Maybe next time.
maybe next time.
Crazy.
I don't know. Is there something? Are you gonna go back to that game and try to finish that shit?
Me?
Yeah,
Probably no.
probably not. Yeah, that's probably coming
Not
out on
really.
PlayStation.
I mean,
How was he
in
playing,
terms
Ray?
of
Huh?
How was he playing Joker?
He's playing okay. I mean, his traversal, like, I feel like I gotta level him up a little bit more to
Mm,
really get a hang of it. Because once you get those upgrades for the traversal and shit, it's cool. But his like his suicide strike was pretty cool.
mm,
His like ultimate was pretty cool. I don't know his quips were dope, but just the way they presented him
yeah.
and the way like mm, the way they marketed it, I don't agree with. Kind of, it's a big turn off.
Yeah, I mean, they made it seem like it was a day one access, and then at the same time, they pushed out season one so late. And I think me and Razor were kind of addressing this yesterday, as far as like I'm very tired of games, these live service games is coming out with seasonal content. But as soon as the game launches, like season one isn't ready. I feel like if you're gonna launch a game, season one should be ready within the first week that you launch the game, especially if you don't know that you're going to retain a large amount of your audience from initial release. You should be prepared to release that content as soon as possible, especially like for something with this game is when you can beat it within like 10 hours and you know you don't have enough content in your base game to retain an audience. It is not very smart to push out a damn season one, your first season, almost a month and a half later. Like that's just not very smart to me. And I don't know. I'm just it seems kind of counterintuitive to sit there and push out your first season so long after your release. But I want to get back into this because you mentioned like drip fed content, and I feel like that's what a lot of these live service games are giving us. Um, I know you had an opinion on that. You want to touch on that?
Mhm.
Oh, it's
Right.
like
Uh,
when you like buy like a whole game. So take it like it seems as though recently to honor like that live service type style of games aren't launching with the full like all of its content, bro. It's like they're giving you parts of the content and they're saving some of it for a later date so they can give it to you as like a season,
Yeah.
right? So instead of Call of Duty giving you a whole campaign, they give you a part of the campaign and then a couple missions each season, or like what Destiny wants to do with their episodes.
Mm.
It just instead of them selling you a whole game, they're selling you chunks of it now. And they're calling it live service or they're time gating material. Like with seasonal models, if you launch a season, all of the content should be accessible the day the season launches. You shouldn't be time gating it to stretch the season out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that's cheap.
I mean, yeah, it's cheap. I mean, but they do that shit for money.
Anything to retain
Yeah.
players.
FOMO is strong. You got to play on that.
Emo is strong. And microtransactions.
Yeah. Microtransactions are. Yeah. I mean, if they're done right, I'm with them. But I'm. I don't know. I'm not too big on.
And,
I like a
and
game where you can
sadly,
grind for it as well. As
exactly. And sadly, this started with Fortnite, but Fortnite was free to play, so they saw it as a means to get revenue, like
Yeah.
generate revenue,
Mhm.
and continue to make that game. And then every company saw the money and success they got off of it and tried to change their business model. That's the problem. I don't like that.
Yeah, but I feel like Fortnite did it right,
Yeah.
It did.
and everybody else is kind of just they took it, ran with it, and just fucked it up.
Yes.
Cause even when when Overwatch 2 dropped, because Razor, you say you used to be able to earn everything in Overwatch 1, right?
Hmm.
But you could buy it as well, right?
Yeah, there were loot boxes, so you could like gamble for it, but like you earned a loot box every time you leveled up. So you would eventually have everything if you just played the game. And like I was like, so I mean, to put in perspective, I think by the end of Overwatch 1, I was level like 600 and something, and
Mm,
like I
damn.
I had just about every cosmetic in the game. Like Overwatch 1 wise, I had 99% of the cosmetics in the game.
Without paying for anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I bought loot boxes here and here during seasonal content,
Well, yeah.
right?
But you didn't have to.
But yeah, no. Like, and compared to Overwatch 2, where skins cost like a skin cost $10, like they were literally selling skins that I earned for free. for like 10 plus bucks.
Are you
And I'm
serious?
seeing this. And they're making quote unquote new skins that are just recolors of skins that are already in the game. So low budget, low effort ass skins that aren't really new and selling them for 10, 20 bucks. And like if you're an Overwatch 2 player who didn't know about all these cosmetics before, you wouldn't know this because a lot of seasonal cosmetics they don't show up on the characters like thing gallery if you don't own them. Right. So you it's brand new. But like someone who's playing a while, it's like, yeah, no, they're scamming you. It's reused content.
That's fucked up.
Like just about everything you see in a shop that isn't promoted for 20 bucks is old. That's why it's not promoted for two. All the new shit is the 20 bucks shit.
That's fucking
But
crazy. So they over here playing us new
yeah,
players.
yeah, you guys are buying shit that I got for free.
That's fucking
I've been
wild,
telling
bro.
people this.
They've gotten a little better though in Overwatch too, as far as like earning the
Yeah,
credits. It's very slow, but you can grind for the credits.
they have started getting better, and especially with the new thing of heroes now being free
Yeah.
completely and not on the battle pass track from now on. So
Oh,
they're improving.
oh yeah. The new hero did kind of like not drop yet, but they did a little sneak peek. So everybody who didn't play over the weekend, what's their name? Well, what's
Venture.
their name? Venture.
Yeah, adventure. Yeah.
Venture, fucking DPS, already broken as fuck day one. Like whole kit is CC, heavy CC, instant kill on the ult. Like that was not fun playing. Striker, you didn't play that this weekend, did you?
Nah, I didn't.
Yeah, no, yeah. Good thing you didn't. That shit was awful.
Good thing you didn't.
That shit was awful. And then the
It's
crazy part is
crazy.
she gonna release like that. That's what's fucking crazy, bro. And then everybody and their mama gonna pick her, bro. That shit is. Oh man, that's okay. Another thing I kind of wanted to touch on too. We were talking about what were we talking about? VC, because Razor didn't know that VC didn't carry over every game every year.
Yeah, yeah, nah.
Y'all keep supporting them, man. Well, not y'all, but yeah,
Niggas.
yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yo, I was trying to tell them, I'm like, people legit pay hundreds of dollars for VC, but I
But don't want
understand
to
why
buy a
they
new
do.
gen
Yeah, right.
console.
Don't want to buy a new gen console because they quote unquote can't afford it, but they'll spend hundreds of dollars on VC. Bro, I've ran into like a few niggas like that. This shit blows my mind. But I mean, like I was telling him though, I understand it because the grind to. Do you have a 99 character or rank back when you was playing 2K? Did you ever have
Yeah,
99? How hard is that grind getting to 99?
not hard at all.
If you're not buying shit?
Oh, I mean, if you never buy VC,
Yeah.
you'll never get there. The
That's
next
what I
2
was trying to
years,
tell
I'll
him.
hurt.
That's what I was trying to. It's a fucking setup, bro.
You heard that? It was like, oh, that changed things. Without VC? Yeah, nah, bro.
No, with VC, that shit
so
easy.
crazy. Yeah.
You can get there, but it's like nobody want to put in that time to grind every single year for fucking VC, bro. Like I truly think 2K should just be a completely like it's technically quote unquote live service, but I think they should get rid of the whole selling it every year. They won't, but get rid of the whole selling it every year. Put out one game, update it yearly, or with just your seasonal content, whatever, and then have your VC just be permanent. Like I don't understand why we got these games that people are paying full price every year just to restart, just to buy all that shit again, and then you don't even have crossplay, right? Am I wrong on that? Is there crossplay yet
Crossplay.
for consoles?
Yeah.
Okay, PC as well.
No.
Okay, so
Niggas
just
hack
console.
VC.
Yeah, you was telling me about that. Niggas do hack on PC.
Mm.
Yeah, they hack for their 99.
They don't need to be a 99.
Oh,
They could be a 60 with the wingspan of like 17 feet. Then what you gonna do?
God damn.
That don't
Some
even sound
monster
fun.
right there.
I ain't dunking from the opposite free throw.
that don't even sound fun, bro. What the fuck?
Oh.
Let's see. Didn't have much else in as far as like news wise goes. We did have a few discussions though. Popped up. I remember we were supposed to talk about this casual versus hardcore gamers. We never really dived into that too much. But what do y'all think? What do y'all think the main differences are between casual in your hardcore gamer? Like what makes a hardcore gamer technically hardcore? What would y'all say?
Well, I know one big difference between very casual gamers and us that you don't really think about is that they do not consume the content on social media that we do. Like they don't do news or updates or patches until they experience it in the game. They just but for us, we know about shit like that ahead of time. Like if your favorite character or something's getting nerfed, and you're probably gonna know ahead of time if you're like not so casual with it.
Hmm.
That was one thing that was brought to my attention. Casuals don't really do gaming news like hardcores do. That's why you're always up to date and versus them not knowing, you know.
Do you think casuals stick more to multiplayer games or games that they're comfortable with?
Well, it doesn't really matter. I think you can be casual on whatever game. I think so. It's on top of your mindset of how you play,
Hmm.
right? And how much time you put in, I say as well is a big factor. Because obviously as you put in time, you're gonna get better, right? So if you only play one game, eventually you're not gonna be casual at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get with knowledge and time playing it, you'll gain knowledge and you will get better. But also your mindset, right? Some players will just hop on, just do random shit, just have fun. Some players will hop on to specifically train at a character or learn something. So if your mindset is more competitive in terms of how you play, then you're kind of turned more into the hardcore side of things. Like think about how many games there, a majority of your player base they don't even touch ranked, you know.
Right.
So if you touch ranked, you're not as casual as them. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't think you really grinded at all or you have a high rank, it's still you put in more work and have a different mindset when it comes to playing. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like, I got a cousin. Me and her, like, we grew up playing video games and whatnot.
Hmm.
But I can't say she's like a hardcore gamer. Like she plays Diablo 4, and that's like been her favorite thing lately. And she's played almost every season and gotten every character to 100. But I don't think that makes her a hardcore gamer because she's not doing that same exact feat in every other game, any other game. It's just that's a game that she likes and has fun with. And it's entertained her. I feel like casual gamers do gaming to just be entertained,
Hmm.
whereas like the hardcore gamers, like we look into it in a deeper perspective and kind of analyze that game a little bit more for other than its entertainment.
So by that definition, would you consider a hardcore gamer has a broader kind of arsenal of games under their belt, or like you said it like Razor, you said it's a mindset. So
Yeah, I got a question with Striker's
yeah.
situation. What if what if like are any of those level 100 characters in the hardcore mode? Like, cause they're
No,
okay. There you go. Well, so you're saying she's never done necessarily went for anything challenging on that game, so she's not a hardcore Diablo player, right?
yeah, no, like it's pure just entertainment.
Okay,
It's
because you can
fun.
be
It's like a,
hardcore at any game you play. I feel like.
yeah. I feel like that's kind of hard. That's what I mean, like the discussion on that though, because like what determines if you're hardcore? Because in my perspective, I'm thinking like how I was thinking is a hardcore gamer would be somebody that's like somewhat of a Razor said, keeping up with games, keeping up with updates, keeping up just kind of with the gaming community in general, with a broad scope of different genres, not just sticking to one, you know. But at the same time, could you technically be hardcore if you're just steady focused on one genre or one game? Because like Diablo, right? Diablo has a whole community of players. It's a very niche community, like you said. It's a niche game, right? So with those players, just because if they only play Diablo, would they still be considered casual, or is it strictly based off of their commitment to the game and what they're putting into the game?
I think it'd be all based off the commitment, like what you're putting into it.
Okay, so hardcore gamers can still be gamers that stick to one game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because I was gonna say, think about like people who are in the FGC community. They typically only play fighting games, but like,
Uh,
I'm not ever going up against Sonic Fox in no matter what fighting game. So like, it's kind of weird to like call him not a hardcore gamer just because he sticks to one thing. But like, so I think you can be a like in my opinion, Jeremy. I think your cousin's somewhat of a hardcore Diablo 4 player
yeah, I'd
because
say
I
that.
don't have a level 100 character for every season, right?
It's a
But
lot
I
of
play
time.
it. So like I feel like she's more hardcore. It's just like hardcore doesn't necessarily mean competitive. I think there's a defined line between the two. You can be a hardcore quick play Andy. You can be in quick play fucking pub stomping all day. You're a hardcore.
Mm,
Just cause not playing competitive doesn't mean you're not. So I think it's still going back to the mindset and just like competitive is because like I ran into plenty of people on Overwatch who have a shit ton more hours than me, and I personally thought like they were shit at the game. Like, and it was like damn, but like so like it's you can put like there are players who can play without the intention of even learning to get better, and that
yeah.
sounds weird to me, but it's just
I
a
mean, it
thing. Like
happens
if people
though.
aren't into it,
Yeah.
yeah, like where they just don't care to get better or anything. They just literally just there to pass time, play, have fun. And so I think that's casual. Whereas hardcore is like you want to get better, because like just because like if there's an athlete that plays multiple sports, doesn't make them like someone who plays one sport isn't really less of an athlete for real. If the other guy's more, he does a lot more, but they're both still athletes. You feel me? If that makes sense, that analogy might be able to toss that out the window. I kind of last minute, but
No, I mean it makes sense, but couldn't it work this the other way around as well? Like, what if I'm not putting so much focus into a one game, but I put a bunch of focus into experiencing a lot of games? Like, what if I'm racking up every title? I'm trying to play every game. I'm beating every game. Because there's a community out there, especially for PlayStation, who they'll try and go for platinum on every game.
mhm.
You know?
Yeah, I think they're hardcore, right? Because like you're just not competitive hardcore. You're hardcore as in collection, experience,
Okay,
the whole grand scope of things. That's why I think competitive and there's a defined line, and you can be both, but you can also be one and not the other,
true. I
right?
guess
Because
it.
you can be
Yeah.
you can be competitive, but not hardcore. It's just whenever I only play one
Yeah.
match a week, but whenever I play it, it's gonna be ranked. You're
Okay.
hardcore,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you're competitive, but you're not hardcore,
Right. That's more like
right? You're probably in
casual.
bronze, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it
Because
does go
like
off like the time put into something in, or the time and the
that's
commitment
the
put into
thing.
something.
I'm thinking time. That's the one part of my statement I want to retract. I don't think time has much to do with it because
You
thinking
don't?
about it, like yeah, because thinking about like Diablo 4, you know how much time it takes to get a level 100 character.
A
That's part of the
lot.
reason why I didn't want to go do that. So like putting in like back to the Overwatch example of people having more hours than me but not being very good at the game. I think you can put in time to something and not necessarily get any better at it. So I think it's more only just the mindset of how you're playing, how you come into it.
Okay, so okay? So is it based off of you get better in the game, or is it based off of the time put into the game? Because some people can legit actually be trying to get better at a game, but just can't. Like
Yeah,
some people just fucking suck, and
yeah.
it's like they just absolutely suck, but they're still putting a fuck ton of time into the game. So it's like, are they excluded from being quote unquote hardcore just because they can't get better?
I don't think so.
So
Like
then
I think
time would matter then.
no, not necessarily, because just like with that statement, there could also exist somebody who's played the game for half the time as you and is twice as better. Because they're just kind of like talented in that game type where they just get it well. So
Right.
there can be just like someone can play for a long time and still suck. Someone can play for virtually no time and be very good at it.
So who would be hardcore out of the two?
Well, both of them.
Both of them.
It's
Okay.
just
Okay.
yeah,
That's what you're saying. Okay. So time doesn't necessarily have to matter into it. Okay.
yeah.
But it could play a factor.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, because I feel like you could become like with Jeremy's cousin.
Hmm.
She's unknowingly hardcore, but I think it's pretty hardcore as you have a level 100 character every season.
No, that's
You know,
that's that's, that's fucking insane.
yeah.
That's a
So
lot of
the
time.
time, so in that case, she didn't really have the mindset of going to be competitive like that,
Hmm.
but the time put in kind of makes it hardcore. But then again, that's a PVE game, so like I guess it's easier to become hardcore in a PVE game. Because I guess in Ronin, I'm hardcore just for going for all the collectibles, technically. Even though it's not really a difficult feat.
Well, yeah, because I guess
You know,
casual. If you're playing that game casually, like everybody
you
will just go
wouldn't
beat
care.
the
Yeah.
game and then that's it. I'll put it down
Boom.
after that. I mean, so what do y'all consider yourselves? But then is it like a hardcore gamer in general, or is it just in that game? You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
mean, yeah. So
that's
those are
about
two
to
different
ask that.
things. It's like I'm hardcore with a specific game, like Striker's Cousin. Hardcore within Diablo, but any other game I really don't have too much interest in. So it's like, does it break it down into those categories? Like myself, I I don't know. What would you consider yourself, Razor? I'm pretty sure you pretty hardcore in gaming because you pretty much platinum a lot of the games you enjoy and shit like that. And you
Yeah,
actually take time into them.
I guess I consider myself more of a completionist when it comes to single player joints, more so than
Okay,
hardcore. But I guess now, with discussion looking at it, it's practically the same.
it is. It is.
But thinking about that, right? I think you can determine it down, break it down to like game category. Like
Mm-hmm.
I definitely consider myself a hardcore FPS player because I played a shit ton of FPS games, and
Yeah.
like that's one game genre where it can be a brand new game, but aiming skills, aiming reflexes, snaps, that shit that's all ingrained into me, and I can do very well despite the game,
Yeah.
right? So like I consider like for Jeremy's cousin, maybe she's just into ARPGs, but Diablo 4 is the first one she played. Diablo 4 is the first ARPG I've ever played. So there could be others
Mm-hmm.
out there that she could probably really connect with and get into that she just doesn't know about,
Because of that genre. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because it's just more that genre's kind of niche.
It is.
But there are hardcore that out there, just like going back to the fighting thing. There are a lot of people who only play fighting games because that's their bread and butter. So they're a hardcore fighting gamer. So I think you can break it down to categories, but you can also be somewhat of a I don't know if this correct me if I'm wrong, Rain, but like your definition of like a journeyman where you go around to different genres and you're more of a jack of all trades type of thing. Like
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
to
Yep.
myself because I used to
Yeah.
exclusively play like FPS games, but now I'm coming out more to other things since probably
Yeah.
PS4.
Yeah, that's a good point because Rain did mention like a journeyman gamer. That would be, yeah. I feel like that's a good classification for somebody that's like you said, a jack of all trades, actually just trying to dabble in as many video games as they can that piques their interest, or even, well, then again, I guess that would kind of tie into the same category. Like a journeyman would be somebody that's maybe reaching outside of their comfort zone to other video games, like testing the waters on other things to see what they like. Would that fit more into that, or on the hardcore side? I guess that would fit more into like a journeyman.
Yeah, I think it fitted more than journeyman because
Yeah,
like we all know that one guy who only plays 2K or only plays
yeah,
COD or whatever and doesn't really try other things except on the rare occasion. They may like it, but they typically still go back to the OG thing they were stuck on.
yeah.
So like that doesn't make them like hardcore just because they tried out one game outside their thing, but it does make them a journeyman.
But that's why I kind of brought up this topic because I kind of got inspired by this topic by hearing some of my favorite streamers talk about it, because some were saying that casual gamers are gamers that only play one type of game, and I didn't know how I felt about that, so I wanted to talk about that because I'm like, I wouldn't, because that's what I'm saying. I agree with y'all on the hardcore thing. I wouldn't just necessarily exclude somebody from being a hardcore just because they stick to one game. Like you said, with the fighting community, the FPS community, whatever community you're a part of, if you're sticking to one thing but you're putting so much dedication into it, I feel like you can be considered hardcore. And I know it's frowned upon by a lot of gamers who are very diverse in their portfolio. I mean, obviously we make fun of a lot of motherfuckers who just play 2K, but at the same time, it's still a video game, and you're still putting a lot of commitment into it. Just like everybody, just like people who only play, Call of Duty or whatever. And so I don't know that when I heard that, I was kind of like, I don't know if I agree with that one, because I wouldn't consider someone just casual just because they play one game. Now I do think people should start, expanding their horizon when it comes to games, because I think I mentioned like a couple episodes ago, like I used to be a guy who solely just played fucking Call of Duty. I think I played Call of Duty and like Naruto like all the fucking time. Like those are the only two games I played. I had a bunch of other games, but I never played story games. Like I just didn't think it was for me until one day I was just like, you know what? Fuck this multiplayer shit. It's just getting on my nerves. It's getting very repetitive, very irritating. Let me try something. Just try something else. And then, wow, to my surprise, like, oh shit, I'm in love with story, like a good story game. So I don't know, like that. When I heard that, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that one. But now that I'm looking back, I I don't know if I'm.
I mean, I think I get what they. I mean, no, I
I
agree with
understand where
you.
it's
I
coming
don't
from.
think, yeah, because like, but at the same time, I think the reason a lot of people stick to certain like genres is because they're comfortable with it and
Comfortable.
they don't
Yep.
ultimately have like the time to learn and get into something new, especially in this new like era of gaming, bro. Like back in the day, I feel like it was probably easier, but nowadays, getting into a new game can sometimes be difficult, especially if it's a live service game,
It's
right?
intimidating.
Like for a striker and Rain, like imagine how hard it'd be for somebody to get into Destiny 2 as a brand new player today.
Yeah,
Nobody to guide them,
it'd be
just them by
terrible.
themselves. They buy Destiny 2 or try it out for free. Like, do you think they'll really have a good time and like knowing or figure shit out on their own, like properly?
Nah.
If they wanted to,
Yeah,
yeah.
if
But
you want to,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, but
but
once
But
again,
if
it's
you
but
don't
like,
want
intimidating
to,
though.
like
so
someone
what do
that's
you?
just like, say you never heard of Destiny at all, and it was
Yeah,
given to you as a gift by like
hmm
your aunt or uncle.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, nah, you probably have a hard time getting into it.
yeah. And that's
Yeah.
why they're casual, in that sense. And like, if they're casual, then they're probably not gonna bother to look things up. They're probably just gonna like play for the 1 hour or whatever, be confused. And if it's Steam, hit up the refund button. You know, if it's a gift, just not care. They didn't spend the money on it. It's just okay, okay, little
Kind of
experience.
the perfect example, like when we was playing with Nemo, Rain. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
He had picked up. He asked me. He's like, "Oh, is Destiny 2 any good? You know, I've seen you play it a lot." I was like, "Yeah, it's really fun. I enjoy it." I was like, "If you want to try it out, you can get this. And if you want to explore more of the content, you can buy these other DLC packs to kind of expand, the activities that you can do rather than be limited to the free stuff."
Yep.
And once
Mhm.
he did, he regretted it because he had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
And
It's a
that
lot.
what well part of what you said, Striker, just a real quick thought, and I'll toss it back to you, Rain, is you said the free stuff. That's part of another reason. With live service, you gotta often pay for the best content.
Yeah.
And someone who's brand new to the game, they're not gonna want to pay extra for content when they haven't experienced, anything at
Yeah.
all so far. So like and then with the base prices of AAA games going up themselves, casual people they don't want to risk that money
Yeah.
like
That.
that.
Yeah. That is another thing too. The intimidation
I don't
factor, the
I
risk.
understand when someone doesn't want to buy into try out new shit today.
Yeah.
Especially when we in a climate where we don't trust a lot of game developers nowadays.
Oh hell no, man. And game is getting expensive, dude. Like, have you seen the rumors about GTA 6 possibly being priced at 100? I mean, it's
Yeah,
not a rumor by Rockstar, but people been throwing that shit out there. I mean, I'm not sitting up here saying that's even out of the ballpark because they've been pushing the price up and up. So it's like if that shit happens, it's like ask yourself, do you really want to spend a fifth of a price of a console on a game? Like
it
that's
is insane.
that's fucking insane, man. Like when you really think about it, it's fucking insane. But we're gonna get there eventually, especially with inflation and shit. But that is actually insane, man. Like spending $100 on a video game, and then I can see if it's something like GTA 6, maybe that'll be worth it, obviously, because you're gonna get, especially for the whole GTA community, these motherfuckers been playing this shit for over a decade, right? So obviously you getting your money's worth in it, but every game will follow that same principle. So it's like we're gonna be getting games that you maybe play for like you put 20 hours into and then put it down. Like I don't want to sit there and play the next God of War for $100, that shit's insane. Then they're gonna sell a collector's edition on top of that for probably what 120, 130, you know? And so it's like, does that make any sense? It's like, should we even be still supporting this? But I guess we don't have any fucking choice. If they want to put it out for that price, I mean, what we gonna do? Like, not buy it?
Support the smaller companies.
But people don't do that because, like I said, people don't want to get outside their comfort zone, which is why we got a big problem with, these AAA companies just dominating the industry, man. Because they're able to do what they want because they have a lock on a large group of gamers. Because a lot of people don't look into smaller companies, like especially if it's not popping. Like Helldivers is a smaller studio, but that blew up because of word of mouth, TikTok and shit like that, which is great, fucking fantastic. But that's just not the normal, you know. But I don't know. That was interesting to look at because I'm like, that's actually not far fetched from an actual reality. And if they actually wanted to do that, it would still sell like hotcakes.
Yeah. So kind of going back to like what you had asked, I feel like it's just very or that topic is subjective to the people themselves on what they believe a casual or hardcore gamer is.
Mm-hmm.
I think a question that a lot of people do ask and try to uh, make a connection to a hardcore gamer is is a hardcore gamer just an addicted gamer?
Yeah, like addicted to video games as a whole.
Hmm. Yeah, where hard gamers will be like, no, I've got a passion for video games and I like video games. Other may see it as, no, you're just addicted to video games and you can't live life without it.
Like an unhealthy. Okay, okay. I think uh because there's definitely a crowd out there who's there's addiction in everything, right? And there's definitely a crowd out there where addiction to video games really is unhealthy on their lifestyle. But I would kind of classify that something on its own, you know, versus putting them in the category of like hardcore. I mean, I guess they would technically be hardcore, but that's kind of something on its own. Because there are a lot of people out here who just like
Right.
their whole life revolves around video games and stuff that's just not reality, and it really affects their mental health. Um, I don't know, getting back to me asking myself, I'm still trying to figure out like what I would classify myself in because at the same time there are games that I'm like dedicated to, but at the same time, like you said, Razor, I'm more of a completionist when it comes to games that I really like and enjoy. But I guess that would lean more towards hardcore because when I think back on my time with like, I use Ghost of Tsushima as an example. I was so infatuated with that game and that game's story and that game's content. I don't think there's ever been a video game I've played where I enjoyed everything about the game. Like I don't think there was I didn't have anything negative to say about Ghost of Tsushima, which made it very fun to try and go for the platinum trophy. And I'm not one that goes for platinum trophies unless it's a damn Telltale game. So it's like doing that was a feat for me. I'm like, oh shit. And it's like the same thing. Like it's the same thing with Ronin. I'm gonna try and go for the platinum in Ronin only because like I'm actually having a good time with the game. I'm enjoying it. The game's not perfect. It's no Ghost of Tsushima, but at the same time, I'm having fun with it. I want to put that time and dedication into it. So, but at the same time, I do have journeyman characteristics where, like, especially now in my life, I have a more mature mindset when it comes to gaming. I'm not against playing any game. I'm willing to try things that are outside of my comfort zone. Um, and I mean, a part of that too is like being a content creator. Obviously, I want to get my hands on things. I want to speak about them. I want to, review them and look back on the things later on in the year. But at the same time, um, I don't know. I found myself really kind of enjoying the aspect of just trying different games because I mean a lot of games end up surprising me. I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. So I guess I consider myself kind of hardcore. What about y'all?
I mean, just to touch on that, because I'm just here and thinking about it in terms of like plat trophies and stuff. Because I get where people are coming from, but like I don't think I think going for a plat trophy, I don't think that makes you hardcore. I think that
Mm-hmm.
just makes you a completionist. Like I said, now I'm thinking there's more of a defined line between the two, because when I think about it, this happened to me in okay, I see now. I don't, I don't know if I got the plat for Ghost of Tsushima. I don't think so. I think because I'm sitting here trying to check, but like if I do, I'd have to go to the PS4 version because that's the one I played first. But like with in the same case with Spider-Man and possibly this Rise of the Ronin, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
once I platted Spider-Man, but I unlocked a new difficulty end of it, and I didn't bother going back and playing that on the hardest difficulty. And so if I didn't
True.
play the hardest difficulty, what did I play that game hardcore? You know. So
True.
like I don't typically play through a story twice unless I really enjoyed it, and then
Yeah.
like difficulty wise, unless I really enjoyed it or really cared for it, or like if there's a trophy for it or something like. Sometimes for some Resident Evil games, I think they do it or stuff like that. But I don't typically like if I don't have to play it on the hardest difficulty, I probably won't unless I really enjoyed the game, right? So like,
Yeah.
am I a hardcore in that specific game, right? And then with story games in general, I think we can all classify them as like kind of action adventure games, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe you're just like, maybe you're hardcore into that category. But those games just they're more rare nowadays, right? Because of
Yeah.
the age of multiplayer and live service.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
Mm. So when
Um.
it comes to me personally, though, I definitely lean more towards hardcore.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's somewhat subjective because, like I said, we can get this down into the nitty gritty of it and drop it down to the smallest of categories within what everybody plays, or we can define it generally like, okay, well, like you said, there's a lot of people out there there's a small community out there who actually is dedicated to a multitude of games, and those can be considered hardcore. But like we said, you can be playing one genre of a game and be considered hardcore. So yeah, I mean that's an interesting take. I'd agree with that. Um, but touching on Rise of the Ronin, I think we should address some things about this game. You've gotten further into it by now, right? In Act 3?
Yeah, I'm in Act 3 right now. I stopped doing story missions and started doing side content, but I'm pretty sure I have all the answers I need,
Yeah.
story wise. Like it's been dragging me along. I guess if we're getting into it,
Yeah,
um,
we about
I
to
guess I
tear
start off
this.
with the positives. I
Okay.
want to start off with the negatives, right? The positives is open world shit still good in Act 3, and like I'm liking it. Like the open world shit is more difficult than story missions
It
actually.
is.
And because you actually like there's threat and death, you don't just get res by your teammates who have more aid,
Yeah.
more medicine pills. There's actual threat to it. The open world shit is pretty great still. And in Act 3 specifically, the map is much smaller, so so all this stuff is like very dense. So like you
Mm,
don't have to go far. So like I've liked that as I've gone. And then also with the combat styles, when you get them upgraded and unlock more, the gameplay does get better in terms of just having more options and different fight styles that you can use out of preference. Because now I have like four. I didn't even realize at first that each weapon has more than three. Some of them have like six. I see.
yeah, you got a
It's like
fuck
you
ton.
unlock, yeah. So there's a lot of customization there for you. There, it's just like it's behind a dense little wall of content and grinding and going to do specific missions for specific fighting styles and such.
Yeah.
But once you do get unlock it is pretty nice. The skill tree I'm 50-50 on, which I guess I'll touch the negative 50 when we get to the negatives. On
Mm-hmm.
the positive side, uh there are some really nice abilities that change the way you play,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or at least just give you extra options.
Yeah.
But halfway through, I say when I reach around mid 30s or whatever, I stopped caring about the skill tree as much because the rest of the bonuses are just either you don't use that weapon type
Yeah.
or you don't use that type of game style. You're not going to be gambling, you're not going to be doing that, or they're just small stat bonuses that are okay, cool, but not oh I want this skill, right?
Right.
But all in all, decent skill trees. And I like how you can flex between the four of them, and you're not like dedicated to one or two like the initial thing
Yeah.
indicated. I think those are my biggest positives of the game so far. 'Cause I do have a bit more negative to say this time around about it.
Okay. I'm gonna let you. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna let you touch on your negatives real quick.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no, I'm touching
Wait,
my
out of
positives. I'll touch on my
curiosity, yeah,
positives.
you and Strike
We'll,
going
we'll go
first.
down the list. Yeah, we'll touch on my positives. So what I do love about the game, as I do love the open world. I do love it. Prove me wrong on my initial impressions of it. I thought the open world was a little empty at first, but then as I actually progress through the game, it comes more alive. It's way more interactive. It's more challenging because in the open world it isn't co-op. So it's kind of like a blessing and a curse. So as far as like, going through the game solo, it's a great challenge being in an open world, especially as you match with enemies at your level or above your level, or even slightly below your level, honestly. It's still giving you that punishing factor, which you don't really see in the missions, because if you're teamed up with somebody, you have your co-op friends, or if you're doing it by yourself, you have your AIs with you, so it's a little bit easier, right? And then even with the scaling, actually that's more of a negative, so I'll touch into that later. But With another positive is I like the combat. It's very fluid. Um, it seems very. I like the skill sets, right? With the different styles, the combat styles. Like Razor was saying, there's plenty of them to choose from. Um, I like the leveling system with it. I know you were a little skeptical of the leveling system of the actual combat styles, but I kind of like how they implicated it, and I like how they did it. It's not just a set level system. You actually have to do different things in order to level different styles that you learn from different people that you meet throughout the open world, and that all ties back into kind of developing your relationships with other people. And if you're one of these people who want to actually complete the game, there's some work you have to put into it, which I enjoy because a lot of it comes down to the bonds you establish with people that you meet. Um, what else do I have to say that's positive about this game? Gliding, I'm obsessed with gliding. Um, I think it's very well done. Traversing throughout the map is very satisfying for me. Um, I know there's more that I like about the game. I'm kind of 50-50 when it comes to the co-op because on the side that I like about the co-op, it does aid in kind of speeding up the story so you can put more time into actually putting into the open world and completing all these areas and freeing up all the villages and stuff like that and developing bonds. But at the same time, I guess I'll move into my negatives now. Actually, no, I'll touch on that after Striker. Striker, go ahead and say what you got to say. I think I'm done with the positives until I can think about something else.
Word. Well, differences in life, because you guys kind of covered a lot of things. More of like the finer things, the guiding system, exploration, and its task list for areas is something that I definitely appreciated within this game. Reminds me a lot of Spider-Man, and kind of one of the things that I enjoyed about Spider-Man was that these are the set of collectibles or set of activities that you need to complete to achieve 100% in this area, and that kind of direction, that guidance, uh, that type of feedback and player loop is really good when a game does that. That lets the player know something that they can track as far as progression for an area or an open world such as this. That's pretty big, and you can easily get lost if you had no clue where you were going, or having an icon or something to tell you that this is the specific location or spot that you can find a specific area for the activity or item or interaction that you need to do. So I definitely did appreciate that by Team Ninja. Something that they took away from other games for this style of game. Um, Another thing that was pretty awesome that I liked about this was the factions or archetypes for items and weapons and armor that you can kind of equip, as well as specific attributes to those items and weapons, and not locking those attributes to specific items, being able to transition or take one attribute and move it on to other weapons, and you could do it for multiple attributes on a weapon depending on its rarity. Or yeah, I believe it's depending on its rarity. I don't know if you can move over more attributes than a weapon is allotted. Not quite sure on that. Haven't tested that out, but I do like that that option is available. It kind of gives you more of a dynamic build that you can kind of go for, where you want to kind of have more of a full on damage and just pump a bunch of attack attributes onto your items or weapons, armors. You can do so. Um, and they do identify what a fully upgraded attribute looks like, and what an attribute that's good or very good. Those are identified by the same color schematics for the rarities of weapons. And that's something that I've noticed kind of just playing and like looking at these attributes. When it comes to the archetype, I like that, having a specific number of them, unlocks additional one. One that I'm currently rocking right now is the fortune archetype, which has been allowing me to get a bunch of exquisites in the game. Exquisites being that gold, yellow like item type, and kind of getting the same weapons with better rolls than what I currently have. That's another thing that I do appreciate is that they don't just stop that farm for that item or like that exquisite you have. So let's say if you do have an exquisite or a gold weapon that you have, but it's very low level, you can farm and try to get that same weapon at a higher roll at a later level, player level,
Wait, I don't mean
so
to
that
cut
you
you
can
off.
get
Yeah,
it at a drop.
what do you mean like roll? What do you mean by that? Like
What do you mean?
you said you said you said run it back. What'd you say about the weapons? You can get a higher tier of it.
Um,
How you doing it?
yeah, so I have this specific mass that I'm using as part of my archetype for fortune called the female nomass. And I had one that was pretty low than everything else in my gear, and just kind of just playing the game and killing enemies and whatnot while having this fortune archetype equipped. I was able to get that same mask with a higher equipment level and
Okay.
defense level
Yeah, I get what you're
than
saying.
the one I currently have equipped. So I appreciate that they have that farming aspect to where you don't have to resort to using upgrading and using a bunch of resources or farming for resources to upgrade that item. You can just get that item at a later point or farm for that item so that you can get it to match your current set levels of your equipment. So kind of those finer details have been really nice to kind of see that they've implemented into the game and thought about as far as like long term gameplay. Um, More of the like the open world and the side quests. Definitely, like Razor said, the content's been challenging. Even on lower difficulty, you can find a challenge in the dojos, and you have challenges everywhere that you'll encounter a specific enemy, and you're given only X number of equipment that you can use, or your loadout may change like in dojos to just wooden swords or whatnot. So you're tested. Your combat is tested uh, rather than your survival.
Right.
And I thought that that's pretty interesting. That was added into this game and that replay factor. Something that I have been enjoying a lot, and even if I completed it, I would still go back and do it from time to time. Is the horseback archery riding
Yeah.
challenges. I thought that was really fun and something I've only seen in one other game, which is Bannerlord. But the controls in Bannerlord was very stiff, so I didn't really like that horseback archery combat. In this game, they made uh, through aim assist, kind of like aiming onto those targets and hitting specific points. If I don't know if this is spoiler or not, but I'll say it anyways. Like there'll be explosives barrels that are near a group of targets, so you can shoot that explosive barrel to get to destroy multiple targets at once. And if you align your shot correctly, you can hit multiple targets or explosive barrels and just chain optimize time that way. There's a lot of intricate and detailed things that the Team Ninja did. It helps, and if you do notice it, like you are rewarded for and trying to adapt those techniques.
I feel you on that. I'm kind of in agreement. You cover some shit that I didn't think of at first. I'm in agreement with that. I do like the not specifically the horseback riding, but I like the firearms training in the game. And the gliding training. The gliding training is actually kind of slightly challenging, only because you might need to upgrade your gliding system with when you do those challenges. Another thing I forgot to mention is I like the inventor and I like the inventions you can acquire when you acquire those books. I think the book system should be a little bit more generous. I feel like they should, hand out a little bit more books. But I see why it is the way it is. They want you to grind for it, which I respect. But I'll jump to you, Razor, before I go into my negatives. You can start off since you started us off. I got a feeling I know what you're gonna
Okay.
say too.
Well, I mean, my first negative is I'm actually going to go against you guys. I don't like the equipment system they have. I think it's pretty bad. And it's something that's definitely fixable. But the reason I think it's pretty bad is because, for one, all the things you talked about with the stat swapping, that is a really cool concept. But I think it's overshadowed by the fact that you get geared ridiculously fast in this game. By the time like is way more worthwhile to just wait for a drop and use higher drops than it is to just actually upgrade and level up equipment, because when you level up equipment, it just goes up by one level. It doesn't go up to match what level you're at. So I'll have like I was running like level fucking 37 swords just now that I just replaced today, and I'm level 47, right? Because the RNG is also really bad, right? If you want to use a specific type of weapon, you just have to pray that you get a better version of that weapon. There is no way to target farm it, like target farm better weapons, right? You can't target farm anything. I don't even think you can like target farm certain clothing and stuff, which is really bad, because the type of clothing it is, determines what the yellow, I don't know what it's called specifically, but the masterclass trait or whatever on it is. And those are the only ones that's really worthwhile, because once you stack those up, it actually gives you worthwhile buffs, actual decent buffs, right? Outside of just plus 2% this, plus 5% this. But since you can't target farm them, you can't guarantee you're gonna keep your pairs going unless you just stick with the low level equipment you do, which is probably why you do it, right? Like Striker, you said, for example, your mask, you didn't exchange it until you literally found a better version of the one you're wearing. Like, how imagine how long that would take in between, and like I don't know how long it took for you, but you were running Fortune too. I'm not running that. Most players probably won't. Most players want to run stat buffing things, not necessarily luck buffing things, right? So for them, it's going to take even longer. For me, it took even longer. Like, I'm still running. Like, if I look at my armor now, I'm running. My boots are level 21. I've never felt the need to change them. I'm level 47. I'm over double that level now, right? And also, like, you just gain too much. They give you gear for fucking everything, killing enemies, everything, and then like I reached the gear cap of inventory of 2,000, and I had to go and like spend like 30 minutes
Damn.
selling everything just so I could get room. Because once you hit that 2K, once you max out your inventory, you still receive items, but they just go to your storage, and you don't really notice it because it just tells you, it just informs you through a little symbol appearing above the item when you grab it. Right, so it's something I didn't notice. I finally got a better version of my swords, right? And I was like, oh shit! I went to my inventory, couldn't find it, and I discovered, oh, I had to go get it out of my longhouse because it got sent to storage because too much stuff in my inventory. And that was something I looked in that, and I had so much shit in storage that I just didn't know about, like so much shit that was better than what I had on, but I just didn't know storage even existed there. I didn't know I was at the max inventory cap. It's just, I don't like the equipment. I think it's pretty bad. I think less RNG would be better, especially if they want to do stuff like the bond transfer. And also, the worst thing about the bond transfer, you can't transfer the masterclass trait. That's the one people want. That's the one I want. If I could transfer that, I would actually use that system, but I can't. I tried it out. You can only do the smaller ones, in which case
What's
it just
RNG?
doesn't matter to me. Randomness, like
Oh, okay,
RNG,
okay. I
random,
got you,
like
got you.
random number generator. Yeah. So like you have to depend on RNG. You can't target farm items in a game where you're supposed to build sets, and that's pretty bad. If you're supposed to build certain sets of anything, they should be target farmable and should be clear where to target farm them. But like you don't get that in this game, so I don't think the equipment is nice at all for real. I think it's very basic and just RNG based. That's all it is. Um, so that's one negative I touched on. My negatives about the stats is that, once again, in game you all become uniform because you just gain a shit ton of skill points. There probably is a cap, but by the time you get to the cap, it doesn't matter. Like I said, I already have just about every skill that I really want, and the only ones that I'm missing that I would bother to go for are the ones that cost the specific stat points, because those are a little harder to come by, right? And those stack up really insane at the end. But besides that, build, like, by the time you guys get to my level, your build's gonna look more or less just like mine because I just have all the best skills in every tree. So like I wish there was going to be more diversity in it, especially if they were considering making this game multiplayer, because then you'd want a build that differentiates yourself from the other samurai. But we don't. There's nothing different between how we play besides our weapon styles for real, right? Because typically the good skills are just an extra option, but the option isn't always available, right? Which kind of leads me to my next negative of the stealth is once again just like similar to Spider-Man, it's like it's there, but there's no substance behind it. There's more here, but like specifically you can only do it much in the open world because you have that the options of exploring and taking a whole trip around just to get an angle or vantage point over a guy. But in story missions specifically, it seems like encounters are either set up for it's like, oh, you obviously want me to stealth kill this guy, or you literally can't. Like the duel, we spawned staring at the only entrance, and it's like, oh well, I can't stealth kill this guy. I have to go in and fight. And it's just like, so it's either forced or not viable at all. And so I think that's pretty bad story wise. And speaking of story missions, the co-op, I know you said you're 50-50 on it, Ashy. Thinking about it myself, I'm gonna go with net negative because of the way they did it. I think the co-op would have been way fucking better if they reversed it and you could co-op in the open world but solo campaign missions, right? And I say this as somebody because like I don't think you guys have played most of your campaign missions. You guys have played co-op with each other and us, right? Most of mine, because I'm ahead, I played solo, and it's a completely different experience, right? Like playing a boss by yourself with the AI, which we know doesn't fucking help. So let me just touch on that real quick. Those AI are fucking the AI companions are fucking trash. So you're basically alone, right, in a sense. And that makes it better because you actually have to learn the boss patterns. You actually have to face it 1v1 the boss, or sometimes 1v2 the bosses. But when you're playing co-op with friends or even randoms, you're just jumping them motherfuckers. They don't get a chance to fight back. Like you guys have a totally different experience of those fights than I did. You guys didn't even see all of their move sets for some of the people you beat. So I think like going through the story in a 3-stack, like what we were kind of doing, almost ruins the intended experience because you guys don't. There's no threat there. On top of the fact that like you get to jump them, and the AI aren't, and the enemy AI obviously are not built to handle multiple people at once, right? They don't have that. They target focus one guy and let you just stab them in the back while they do it. So you're just really missing out on the boss fights and how they're really supposed to be. And on the flip side of that, there's no MP on the multiplayer on the open world aspect where it should have been. Like you said, like it would have been way better if you would have restored public orders and stuff out in the open world than just help them in campaign missions. So I think the co-op was just done kind of poorly in that example. And that honestly, the game, in my eyes, or how it's intended to be played, would have been better off just not having that. And then the story is also the story itself is not bad, right? I'm not saying that,
right?
But the faction thing is done poorly, in my opinion. From the beginning of the game, they give you this impression that you are able to choose your side and who you want to work for, who you want to fight for, right? So I made sure to choose the opposite from you so we could try to experience both angles and see, what both sides look like, just to find out that it practically makes no fucking difference. Like the Act 1 mission where you choose what sides you play for, it doesn't change shit about the mission. Same exact enemies, same exact setups, same exact boss, same exact cutscenes. Nothing's different. The choice doesn't matter, right? And then after that, you think at least, okay, I'm part of the side. I'm gonna start playing from this branch. But no, you're streamlined. I'm not gonna say specific stuff, so I don't want to spoil a story for y'all. But you're streamlined through this one linear path, and it soon becomes just very obvious to you how it's going to play out, which I'm sure you two can attest to, right? And the way I see it now that I'm in Act 3, Act 1 was the anti-shogunate. You work when play with more of the anti-shogunate people in Act 1, get to know them. Act 2, you're going to play with more of the shogunate people. And in Act 3, you can choose. Yeah. So I want to see how Act 3 plays out for you guys if you choose the other side to see if there's really differences there. So I can't speak on that. So take that with a grain of salt. That maybe it may get better in Act 3, and maybe I'm just not that far yet, or I just don't know. But from up until then, terrible. You're dragged along. You have your choices do not fucking matter. So many times, you guys can attest to this. So many times you go to a boss fight and you just let the character live. They just walk away or they ridiculously get away. We fight the blue demon like 4 fucking times, bro. Yeah. 4 times. He gets away from you like 3 times, bro. What's up with that? You often side. There'll be some times where like I play a one mission for one side, and then I fight someone that I know from the other side, and at the end of the fight, we just let them walk away. We just let them live. we just let them go. You don't even have the option to kill or not kill them. Like you have no choice. Your choices do not matter. It's just the illusion of choice. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's the illusion of choice all the way up until Act 3. You are dragged along. There is nothing you can do about it. And then also that just makes it really hard to care. I stopped caring about the story because I realized one, it's not really my story, and then two, the way they do both sides is just so grimy. Like you will work for one side
Yeah.
and it will shit talk, and then like, well, what happens is when you choose a side, the mission will make you look like the fucking villain, bro.
Yeah.
And no matter
Every
what
time.
side you choose, they make you look like the villain. Like I chose the Shogunate side for one mission, and I went down there, a foot soldier, kind of like war-ish type territory, right?
Mm.
And then the cutscene at the end showed a bombarding unit shooting cannons down the hill at the enemy troops that are retreating and shit. And like obviously the game wanted to make me feel bad about it, but it was like, bro, I'm not with them. I didn't do that. I was on the ground with the people down here. Like I didn't, just clear. It was a clear thing of them trying to villainize our side. And then I quickly don't even have a choice, have to say, oh, this is not right. Let's go help the anti-Shogunate people. And then once again, swap over and go do a mission for them to help them out. And it keeps dragging you back and forth like that and makes you feel horrible no matter what way you decide to go, bro.
It's like a spy, like a double agent.
Yeah. That's the thing though. Like if they went with the double agent thing, that would have been cool. But
Yeah.
it's not even that. You will straight up work for the Shogunate, and then the next mission, working with the anti-Shogunate, despite what you personally want to do, you are going to help them. That is going to happen. I'm sorry if you wanted to help only one side. Sucks to suck. You're gonna help both of them, right? It's just gonna happen. You're gonna get to this guy who's like on the opposite side and want to kill him. And at the end of the boss fight, a cutscene happens where y'all just shake hands, dap up, and then walk away.
Yeah.
And it gets old and so repetitive. I think those are my major negatives.
Yeah.
Really.
Just so I don't lose that thought, because that's one of my biggest discrepancies with this game. I came in with a pretty open mind for the story. I didn't think it was going to be too great, but that really turned me off for the story. Like you said, I don't pay attention to it anymore. I find myself skipping a lot of the shit because I'm very story driven when it comes to games. Like just like movies, I love movies. I love TV. So when people can really grasp my attention on a good story, I'm all in. I'm locked in. And so with this game, let me just mention this point. I feel like it would have been better off streamlined, or if they're trying to go this direction, they honestly should have had you as an American, because the amount of double agents, the amount of like tactics as like a double agent you play in this game, it just doesn't make sense, because you're supposed to be from native Japan and you're supposed to either be a part of the Shogunate or the anti-factions, right? And so it's like, it makes no sense for it to be advertised as picking these two sides, but I'm constantly going back and forth. If you're going to play that angle, make me be like an informant for one of these Western powers coming in, and I'm quote unquote choosing a side, and I'm bouncing back and forth for the common goal of a Western power, right? So say if like I'm a British soldier or something like that, and I'm trying to infiltrate Japan, and I'm trying to, manipulate the Shogun, which is actual historical facts on what happened with Japan. Or obviously, if I'm going that route, it'll be kind of streamlined, because then I'm kind of flipping back to the anti-Shogunate and I'm gaining their trust just to, basically spy on them. I feel like that'd have been a more interesting angle, somewhat of what they're trying to do with their story, because this whole multi-choice thing, it's not the dots aren't connecting. It's like, it makes no sense for me to sit here and, like you said, the Blade Twin shit could have been thrown out the window, or it makes no sense for you to. Sorry. It makes no sense for you to create a separate character as a Blade Twin, only to not use he or she, right?
Yeah, I forgot about that. I want to touch on that too.
Yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, on the Blade Twin part. And also, I just want to mention, I do definitely agree with you that the game would have been better if it was just streamlined, and then have us make the choice at the end of Act 3, or beginning of Act 3. So have us streamline through the first two acts, where we experience both sides like that, and then have us choose and separate. That would have been way better.
Yeah.
But with the Blade Twin shit too, and this also, well, also tying into the other NPCs, they trust you way too quick for this flipping between both
yeah,
sides. You flip
yeah.
and flop, and niggas will be like, oh, and just be like, oh, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. It's like, oh yeah, it's all cool. You come with us on this next super top mission where we're gonna assassinate the Shogun, and you can let him go, but it doesn't matter because you're gonna die in the cutscene afterwards anyway.
Facts.
Which speaks to the other thing I thought about that all the choices that actually do matter, any was somewhat like actually have story choice. The choice and the effect happens in the cutscene, not then and there. You don't
Yeah.
get to kill them. Like I don't want to say the name, but there was certain somebody I fought against on one side, one of the characters y'all know about, and killed them in the boss fight. Cutscene happens. Once again, no fighting, no hostility, no beef, just a cutscene. And then later on, after in another cutscene, it's him committing seppuku. What the fuck? Just him committing suicide. And I was curious, so I was like, bro, that makes no fucking sense. Even though I decided to kill him, like if you were gonna have him, you could just let me kill him in a cutscene or something if that was gonna happen. But I looked it up because it's historical to see what really happened to the real guy, and he did commit suicide. That was true, but he committed suicide because he got hit with rifle fire and he was injured and he wanted to avoid capture, so he committed suicide.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Not how that happened in the fucking game. In the game, he just like, oh, I'm a failure, and then stabs himself. Like it just, and like it just, yeah. Once again, it was like, oh, fuck my choices, I guess. But with the Blade Twin, I agree with you. That shit could have been tossed out the window. I hate it because number one, I didn't get any time to like bond with my Blade Twin. I actually don't give a fuck about that motherfucker.
Right.
I'm being serious, right? That's another one of those things that would have been better if it was streamlined. If you just had me make my character and then have my Blade Twin be an established NPC.
Yeah.
That would have been, I feel like that would have been better because, like, you don't get enough time with both of them. By the time you choose, you're going to just have to choose your favorite, which is probably the first one you customize because, a lot of people didn't even know customization was in this game to begin with. So, like, and then, like, what's crazy is that you would think your twin is working for the opposite side. But I don't get the vibes of that. That's not necessarily true, right? Because the twin was working for the Shogunate. They were protecting the Shogunate, right? So I thought maybe I'd be able to team up with him. No. And then there is a cutscene that happens in the beginning of Act 3 or end of Act 2, I guess, more accurately, where you encounter your Blade Twin again and you have another boss fight. And then at the end of the boss fight, your twin's talking about, you can work with me. Like she's talking about like how they're fighting for this certain future and basically how like they want vengeance for like what happened in Villas and all that. And you don't get a choice. It's just your character saying, no, I can't do that. And it just doesn't make sense, considering like whatever choices you personally made up until that point. Like for me, all the personal choices I made up until that point, it made no sense for me to decline that offer. Why would I do that? I'm working for the Shogun. I'm helping starting this, incite this war for real. Well, not really, because you don't have much weight in the war and the story most at all, for being honest. But yeah, no, the Blade Twin shit, it's another one of those empty, wide as those and empty as a shadow as a puddle. You know what I mean?
It's a plot hole, bro. It's like
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense, and it's like it. And they had a really good thing too, because I don't know if you remember, but in the beginning of the game, they had this really cool implementation of. With the Blade Twin, you could switch back and forth. Like that's how I ended up beating one of the bosses, and that came in handy because if I'm getting my ass beat, I'm just okay. I'm gonna switch, and that way I don't take any damage. It was a very nice implementation to the game, and then obviously for whatever reason they make you choose between your Blade Twin or you because of the fucking code of conduct that they have, whatever. Don't make no fucking sense. And then you go ahead and you chop it up with Granny Chio, and then the story proceeds, right? And so my thing is with the Blade Twin, like Razor was saying, it's just they could have just made it a basic NPC. Let me touch back because that's another positive. The character creation. It is very detailed. It's not as detailed as like Dragon's Dogma, but it is very good character
It's nice.
creation, right? But back to the negatives, like they make you choose, and then of course you're gonna probably choose the one you spent the most time on, which is the first one you make because a lot of people didn't know about the character customization. And then bam, the story happens. And then back to the streamline thing, it would have just been better for them to streamline the game. And like you said, either have you choose in Act 3 or it's completely streamlined. And they just want you to play the game and experience it based off their perspective, based off history, because it is a game based off historical facts, and they show that throughout the game. But it's like there's so many plot holes because they're trying to implement this system that they didn't do very well, and kind of dropped the ball on the story and made it less interesting because of all these holes. Like, this is spoiler free, and we will drop a spoiler probably review on this probably within the next week or two, right? But keeping it spoiler free, there are plenty of moments in this game where you make a decision and you actively either kill somebody or spare them. And then bam, they do whatever they want to do with that anyway. So it's like the choices don't matter. And I emphasize that in the video I made about this before this game actually dropped, because they advertised it, but I'm like, I didn't really trust it regardless, because I'm like, a lot of games can say that, but they don't really implement it as they should. Like, like a Telltale game, the choices you make in those games fucking matter. They actually change up the story down the line. In this game, I mean, there's a rumor apparently he's got 4 endings, but it's like, well, how the fuck do you get to those 4 endings if everything we're choosing? And like Rachel said, me and him are kind of like doing opposite things just so we can analyze the effect that it has. And we're seeing the same shit. And it's like, well, how do you get to these different endings if the opposite choices we're making?
Probably endings with little variation. And
exactly.
Endings,
exactly.
Like shit where they talk about, oh yeah, this game has 17,000 endings, and it's like, yeah, but there's like only 10 general ones, and then like minor differences between the other several thousand.
Exactly.
And I'm expecting that to be the case at this point.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. And so I'm gonna have to disagree with you on the fact that I just don't enjoy the story anymore at this point because of the fact that they're doing stuff like that. Now, my opinion could change when it comes to Act 3 and towards the ending of this game, but as of right now, it's a turnoff for me just because of how they did it. It's sloppy. I see what they try to do, but they didn't do it well. And if you were gonna try to do something like that, you need to keep this thing in the oven and bake it some more before you push out the product. The thing that's saving this game for me is the fact that, like, don't get this wrong if you listen to this. The game is it's fun. Like, I mean, I've got over 30 hours into the game already. It's obviously fun. I plan on completing it and probably platinum in the game. But at the same time, it's got a lot of holes, and those holes come from its plot. Another thing that I don't like, honestly, the plot's the biggest one for me. Another thing, I'd have to disagree with you as well on the what's it called? The, like, sneaking up on people, the fucking the stealth. Yeah, I have to disagree with you on the stealth because I actually enjoy the stealth. I think it does come in clutch a lot of the time, especially like when I'm clearing out the villages in the open world, because a lot of the times, especially if I'm going against enemies of my level and it's very punishing, I like to strategically take out all the little foes before I go and mess with a formidable, only because this game likes to fucking jump you, and I don't like trying to focus on a formidable foe with this little fucking henchman slicing me up from the back too. Like, that shit is very distracting to me, and I'm against it. So that the stealth actually comes in clutch for me. I do see what you're saying though, but at the same time, I'm leaning more towards positive than negative on that. Back to my negatives, and I'm sure I'll have a lot more next week when I finish it, but it's mainly just it's the story, man. Like, it's just, I don't like the stuff they did with the Blade Twin. I don't like the stuff they're doing with how you're basically a double agent, even though that's not what it's intended to be. I don't like the stuff how people are too trusting, and it's like, why are you so trusting in a time period where no one trusts anybody? It's like that doesn't make any sense. Biggest dilemma is just the decisions made, and then they just do their own thing. Like, it's just, those are really kind of pissing me off. And then another thing is too, the graphic work that they did on the game. Like, the cinematics are gorgeous, very gorgeous, but you can tell that's all they put their focus into. What makes up for that is it's very fluid. I've rarely experienced any frame drops, and if I do, it's usually like in a co-op scenario where, like, we're beating the fuck out of a boss. Frames are dropping. But as I'm playing a single player, it's very, very flawless, which makes up for a lot of the graphics. What I mean about graphics is the facial expressions of a lot of the people, and the way the voice acting is done. It's not a lot of emotion in it. When you're going through the open world and you're doing these side quests, it's very stale. It's very dry. Like, a lot of these characters, like, their mouths moving, but you know nothing's really. You don't feel connected to it. You're just like, okay, well, this is just a fucking NPC, you know, and you can tell it's an NPC. And then yeah, they didn't put a lot of detail into those characters outside of the cinematics, and you can really see that. Not too big of a deal, but it's still something worth mentioning on a negative. One more thing too, I'm gonna kind of jump on the same horse as Razor. The AIs that do assist you, they don't do shit. Like you're almost better off without them. And even sometimes in the open world, like they'll help me a little bit. When you know, like rescue people in some of these villages, you'll rescue like one of these warriors, just being held captive. And even then, like I'm fighting, and sometimes they'll help, but then sometimes they're like, oh, stuck behind a barrel, like a few hundred feet away. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get over here, help me out, like, or just don't implement it, you know. And the same with the story. These AIs are just they're just not doing anything, and it's very annoying because they have their individual stats, and some of the stats are like depending on how you level them up are better than your characters, but there's no use of them because they're not really putting in that much groundwork to really make too big of a difference. It's mainly just kind of like a little subconscious confidence boost, like okay, I have somebody with me, you know, versus like being completely alone, and that intimidation factor being there like, oh shit, like I have no assistance. But I mean, it's kind of the same thing. You don't really have assistance. So I wish they would have put, if they're going to implement like AIs or people helping you out, they should have, you know, done that a little bit better. That's all I got from my negatives right now until I finish this. Striker, do you have anything for your negatives?
Y'all covered a lot. Like, damn. I feel like it sounds more like let's rip this game apart and
You know, you got to sometimes,
tell you why
man.
it's bad.
Great game, though.
I mean,
like
honestly, it's a great game, but here's everything that sucks about it. The Walmart receipt of 32 items purchased. But honestly, like y'all said, the biggest thing for me is the story. Like y'all been saying, the story hasn't been uh, like about your choice and what type of narrative you want. Whereas they kind of state at the very beginning, you know, your decisions affect, you know, the narrative of the game. I don't feel like it does. I feel like it's very linear, like most story games. So I don't think in that aspect the game is unique at all. And because of that, I've just like been just speed running the main campaign, just unlocking as much as I could so I can play side content. I found the side content much more enjoyable than the main content, which is unfortunate because this game is, like you said, it is fun. There's a lot that it has going for it, but just as much that it has a lot going for it, it also has a lot going against it. The co-op, I do feel like they should have allowed co-op for open world more than just submission, so that you and your friends can kind of get in and also explore and tackle on some of the challenges out here as well. I don't think it should just be limited to main mission campaign. Um, I do see that they can add more content and kind of have more of like raids or stuff like that. Kind of like bigger bosses that you have to fight and you can fight them with friends. That could be a thing potentially, but I don't see this game having any kind of end game content like that. Other than that, like the co-op seems very lackluster and just kind of put in just to say our game has co-op. Um, the Yeah, I mean those are my biggest two complaints about the game. Everything else has been really good for me.
Yeah, it's a fun time. It's a fun time. Don't take any of this like, oh well, shit. You know, they got a lot of stuff to shit on about the game. Like, oh, I'm not gonna pick this up. It's a very enjoyable game, but there's just a lot in, you know, this main chunk of the portion of the game is the story, but it does make up for it in a lot. So don't just listen to this and go, oh shit. Plus, at the same time, none of us have finished it yet. So, you know, we'll have a complete review by the time we finish it, which shouldn't be too much longer. But oh, yeah,
I was
we're
gonna
having
say
fun.
to like alleviate like because yeah we did talk about negatives a long time, but like a positive I didn't go over was combat because we talked about it last week. But that's like the biggest positive of the game, so that's where a lot of the gold is in the combat.
It is. It is. One more one more. I gotta hit it on it one more time.
Oh shit.
I gotta hit on it one more time, man. It's so annoying to repeatedly face so many people and then they just run off. Like, why? Why have me face them? Why not just save them for the end so I can actually like kill them or some shit like that? And then you kill them, but then the cutscene's like, oh no, they're not dead. You know, it's like a complete opposite of what you just did. It's like, why the fuck is this? Why is this happening? Just don't put it in there. Don't have me fight them. Like, is that so hard just to not have me fight them, bro? But that's all I got on that. I'm done. Great game. It has flaws. You know, like every game. Every game has flaws. So Ghost of Tsushima didn't have no flaws for me.
Oh.
Y'all got anything else?
The game was black and white.
Oh God.
Oh my God, bro. He's a guy that doesn't know about settings.
Hey, man. He said it had no flaws. I just like, well,
I ain't say that.
no, not you.
To kind of close this out, just go over a little highlights. Like I said, look out for Stellar Blade coming April 26th. The demo is now over, so y'all can't play that by the time you're listening to this. Silent Hill 2 is getting a remake. No official date has been confirmed on Silent Hill 2. It'll probably be the first horror game that I actually pick up because it does look interesting. And then I think the original came out in 2001, 2002, some shit like that. So
it's really old.
It's really old. Oh, 2001 survival horror developed by Team Silent. So they're probably gonna release the official date of it at the PS State of Play, which should be coming up either in May or June. We should see reveals of probably Ghost of Tsushima 2 and as well as Ghost of Tsushima 1 for a PC release because that's coming as well. So all those should be revealed in the PS State of Play event. So that should be a good time watching. They might actually bring some heat. It's actually going to be on Steam as well. So if you're on PC, you can pick up Silent Hill 2, the remake version of it on Steam once it releases. It is only single player. They're keeping it the same as the original. It's just going to be a single player experience. They said they want you to, be immersed in the horror. So that should be fun. Hopefully I'm scared shitless on stream. But yeah, that's kind of all we got for today. Diablo 4 available on the Game Pass for PC. So if you're looking into that, if you never picked it up and you have Game Pass, go ahead and pick that up. That's it. I don't have any closing remarks. If y'all don't have any closing remarks, y'all got anything to say before we end this off?
Another thing to defend Ronin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's fair that people are comparing this to Dragon's Dogma. I don't have that much time in Dragons yet. I decided to beat this first.
Jesus Christ, they're doing that.
Shorter game, huh?
They're
like, yeah,
damn.
and then, and it's just like they're two completely different games.
Completely different.
Yeah, and so even if if this is competing against Dragon's Dogma, it's understandable if you don't want to get it now or if you want to get that other one now. But that was just one of those things that this game got shot on when it's like, bro, it's not comparable. Apples and oranges,
Yeah. Yeah, that's not fair. That's not a fair comparison at all. Like, these are two completely different games. And I haven't played Dogma more than 20 minutes yet. So hopefully once we finish up Ronin, we'll actually get into Dogma. That's a long ass game though. So don't expect no hardcore review on that shit for weeks at this point. But we will touch on that. But no, if you're hearing that shit, I can imagine it's probably posted all over YouTube. People be doing shit for clout. Just don't listen to that shit. If you're interested in picking up Ronin, I highly encourage it. It is very fun. I'm having a great time with the combat. That's its biggest highlight, and it's definitely worth the price, I'll say. Just got its flaws, But if all of y'all are good on that, I'm gonna wrap up today's episode, and we want to thank everyone who made it this far in today's show. All we ask for your appreciation is for you to spread the love by sharing the podcast with a friend. Put it out to your homies. While you're at it, go ahead and drop us a 5-star rating on all the supporting platforms. This will help us promote our show through the algorithm, which helps with bringing in new listeners. We want to thank y'all for tuning in, and we will see y'all next week. Peace.